everyone, how you going? Welcome to Diane again. I'm hoping you all like this week's card. I call this a double twisted easel card. It's so beautiful, look at it, and it lays flat to go in an envelope, and we're going to make the envelope as well because this card measures 8 inches by 4 inches. So we're going to make our envelope to go with it, which looks absolutely gorgeous as well. So we're going to use a few things that are a little bit retired now, and the stamp set we're going to use is called Humming Along, with the beautiful cuts that go with it, the die cuts that go with it. I have already done all my die cutting and my colouring in, but I will show you how we did this, okay? And by doing that I can save time. You don't need to see me colouring in and die cutting. I think everybody knows what they're doing off there. If not, please give me send me an email or a PM or give me a call and I will help you through that. Okay, thank you very much. Let's see how we're going. So let's pop this card on one side. Oh, before we go, I'll just show you on the inside. This is where we write our saying. Now I didn't like the white on white here, so I'm actually going to do a contrast between. But there we go, that's our card for today, and I hope you'll like it. So what we're going to need is we're going to need a card base that measures 8 inches by 8 inches, and then we need 2 more squares in the same base colour that measure 4 inches by 4 inches. Then we're going to need a contrasting colour that measures 7 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and a piece of designer paper that measures 7 1/2 by 3 1/2. Then we're going to need 2 more squares that measure 3 3/4 inches in contrast colour, so 3 3/4 inches square, and then 2 pieces of designer paper that measure 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 inch squares. We're going to need 2 more squares in the contrast that measure 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 that we're actually going to cut diagonally down the middle, so you'll get 4 pieces, and two more pieces of in the white that measure 3 inches by 3 inches, and then that's going to be cut diagonally, and that's for those pieces are for our insert. We're going to need a couple of scraps for our sentiment and which is our tag. So, and then we need a piece of envelope paper, which mine is white on the outside and orange on the inside, that measures 9 5/8 by 9 5/8. So we will go through that afterwards. So let's get stuck into our card. Let's pop all these things on the side out of the way. Okay. First of all, we're going to need our scoring board, and we're going to score our 8-inch square piece of card at the 4-inch mark. Okay, oops. And that's all the scoring we're going to do for a moment until we've done our cutting. So with this piece, I'll get my cutting board out. It's just that it's easier to do it on this board. We're going to pop this in here at the 4-inch mark with the score line going through the middle this way. Okay, and we're going to bring our blade up to the 4-inch mark here, and we're going to cut straight down. So we've got like little legs here. Okay, that's the end of the cutting. Let's pop that board out of the way. Oops. And we're going to bring our scoring board back in again now. And if you don't have a diagonal score like I have here, you can just do this with a pen, with a stylus and a ruler. So what we want to do is we want to do a diagonal line from the middle out to the outer edges. So we can either do that one of 2 ways. We can either, with our ruler, we can pop this on here and we can use our stylus to mark it out, or in my case, as I have a diagonal board, I'm going to do it with my diagonal, which if you've got the diagonal board, all you've got to do is pop it up in the corner, start right there, and that will bring that right down to that mark there beautifully. Okay, turn it over and do the same again on the other side. That way you have two score lines. I think we've done something very similar before with this. Okay, so that's our scoring, all our scoring done. So we have a score line through the middle at the 4-inch mark, a cut that goes down to the 4-inch mark from the 4-inch mark, and two score lines that go out from the centre cut line out to the corners. So we're going to now fold and burnish our lines, but we're going to make sure that these line up beautifully square, because if you don't, oops, here goes my talk, you will find that it won't sit nicely. Okay, so we're going to do the same on this side, and that's our middle score. Then we're going to bring these down and fold them again, just making sure that they line up nicely with the score line along here and along this edge here. And same on the other side. Okay, so beautiful. So that is virtually our card base. We are going to turn this over, and we have our two 4-inch squares here, which I'm going to put on here. I find that this just makes it look a lot neater, so for me I think it works better. This is an optional one, but personally I think it works. So let's pop this on here, and this lines up correctly all the way around, and it's 4x4. So, and you only want to glue in this bottom, because when you've got this towards you, this bottom triangle. And we're doing the same on the other side as well. Now it gives you a lot more strength in your card, but it also makes, when you're standing your card up, you have these pieces standing up here, not your contrast showing from the back. So when you can turn it over, and you can give it a nice burnish down those lines as well, so you know that that's going to sit up nice and straight like so. Okay, so let's, whoops, put that flat again, and we'll carry on with the rest of the card. So we're going to start with our two pieces that measure 3 3/4 by 7 3/4 and 3 1/2 by 7 1/2, and we're going to glue our designer paper onto our contrasting paper. As you know, I prefer to use wet glue, only because I do actually find that it gives me that chance to get it right if I'm not, you know, quite right originally. Okay, so that then goes onto the base part. So we've now got these flaps at the top. We open them back, and this front piece here, so these score lines are here, right? This piece at the bottom, making sure it's the inside side, is going to then glue onto there. And that's the base of our card. We are then going to do exactly the same with our other squares, which we have our contrasting squares and our designer series squares. Now, if you've got a one-way pattern, you're going to just have to be careful that you get your pattern the right way when you put them on the front and when you're cutting, because you don't want a pattern going one way and then the opposite. So if you have a one-way pattern here, what you need to do is you need to pop your card up like so, and then put your pattern piece on the right angle, so you know when you lay it down that the bottom of your pattern is right by this cut line. If you don't have a pattern that worries you, then that's fine. But if you do, you just remember, stand it up. Yep, that's the way it goes. So it goes towards the center. So the bottom of your pattern goes towards the center cut line. And that applies to the other side, so you would turn it around the other way and put your cut line. Your cut line is in the middle again, and your pattern would be up the correct way. So when it sits up, it sits upside so. Okay, so that's that done. We're going to then stamp our sentiment onto our tag. Now, all the other stamping is done, but I'll show you this beautiful stamps. There's a beautiful hummingbird. Oh, excuse me, I have an itchy eye. Hummingbird. Beautiful hibiscus flower. And lovely leaf in the pack. And then it has 3 beautiful sayings. We are going to be using this one that says, wishing you an amazing birthday. Up here we have thank you, or hope you feel better really soon. So that's great for lots of different things. So okay, so we're going to stamp our, in memento, we're going to stamp our sentiment onto our tag. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. Now the tag you will also find in this set, so if you haven't got this set, I'm afraid you're going to have to look for it on somewhere that's somebody's selling their retired products. This is the tag that comes in this set, so that's our tag there. I've actually cut 2. And what I'm going to do with the second one, which is in the contrast colour, is I'm going to cut it right down the centre here. And then I'm going to put a bit of glue along one edge, the cut edge here. And I'm going to line this up so that can you see this? Not very easily. Let me hold this up. There's like a twirly bit you can see on this one. That one matches up with the smaller one. Once that matches up with the smaller one on both sides, you know that you've got that nice and even. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to pop another bit of glue along that edge, and then I'm going to match that one up again, and then you'll know that they are both even top and bottom. Look at that. How beautiful is that? I'm just going to thing that down so it goes down nice and neat. Oops, come up. So that's our tag, or stopper, whichever you wish to call it. I'm going to use, and I've just dropped something on the floor, excuse me, some of the larger foam pads along the bottom here. I'm going to put 3 on the bottom here. And then I'm going to stand this up where I think it should sit and work out where I want to put my tag. I don't want it like this down here because it wouldn't look nice. We need it to be sitting back up like this. So let's pull our pieces off the back of these and we will set this up. We can work it out roughly. There's the cut line and we want to come down about 1/3 of the way. Just sit it there and have a look. If you're happy with the way it sits, that's fine. I'm happy with that, so that's where mine's going to sit, just like that. Okay, so that's that done. So let's start on our insert. Our insert pieces are 2 white ones, squares that have been cut diagonally, and again on the other side. So we need to make sure that we get these diagonals the same way, which is that way. So from the left hand bottom to the right hand top, and the other one is from the right hand bottom to the left hand top, so they're both opposite each other. We're just going to stamp our sentiment once more, which says "You're amazing." I want to make sure I get it up the right way, and I'm going to stamp that on just one of these white pieces. Beautiful. And then I'm going to stamp my leaf on the other 3. Now, I'm just going to colour those leaves in. Now, I have an assortment of blender pens here. Okay, for my leaves, I'm going to use Old Olive Dark and Light. But for my hummingbird and the hibiscus flower, I used the green or the Old Olive for the leaves. And I used Lovely Lipstick in the white, light and dark for the flower. But for my hummingbird, I used Bermuda Bay, Highland Heather, that went well, Petal Pink, Daffodil Delight, and whatever this one is, come on, Mango Melody. That was my options. I used the yellow with the flower as well. That was my options, but it's entirely up to you. I'm just going with my dark one. I'm just going to go down the vein. Over the top of the black, and because for some reason my dark one has got really thick, and then I'll just use my light one to colour in the leaves. On all 3 of them, so that you can just see how I go about colouring in. But there's still enough room for you to write your message to the recipient of the card. Okay, so now we're going to glue these onto our contrast for the inside. And unfortunately, this is just something I could have done I could have stamped and coloured in 2 of them and stuck them together beforehand. So you only had to watch me do it twice, not 4 times. Oh dear. That's why I like to use wet glue, because if it slips, I've got time to move it back into place. Why did I put the lid back on that? That's silly. Okay, so now we're going to open our card up and we're going to position these inside like so. Making sure that you get your words this way up, because when you write, your recipient will be able to read what is written there. And I think this just makes the inside of the card just look finished as well. I think nothing's worse than a blank spot unnecessary. Let's pop the lid back on the glue and we'll just pop these down nice and tight. Okay, so our card's going to sit up like this. Our inserts are in. And it's just looking perfect. Now, as I said, I have already cut out all my flowers. I've cut out my flower, 3 leaves, and my hummingbird. What I did is I coloured them in, and then I saw this technique done on another YouTuber, and she actually put Versamark over the whole lot and then clear embossing powder, so that you get that shiny finish. Can you see that shiny finish on all of them? And I thought that that would look just beautiful on top of all of this. So that's what I've done to my pieces here. So I used my stamped, I coloured, I Versamarked all over the whole lot, I poured the clear embossing powder over the top, and then heat embossed the top so that it's all beautiful and shiny. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dress up the rest of the card. So I have some more of my foam pads here, and as you know, I'm a big lover of making sure there's plenty on there. I'm not one of these people that like a half a dozen little bits on there. Oh, let's pull that off. So I'll cut these all in smaller pieces. That bit can go there. That really, really thin bit can go down here, and the other bit can go next to it. Take the paper off the back, it helps. Okay. We want another one here, and another really, really skinny one for his beak. There it is. Okay, so we're going to put our flowers and bird on the front, parts that sit up. Now I like to do this while it's sitting up. Just pop it into place and then press it down nice and tight. So let's do that again. So we'll pop him into place where we think he should be. Excuse my head if it's in the picture. Happy with that? Yes. Down nice and tight. And because they're being embossed, they're actually a little bit thicker too. And I think they look gorgeous. So then what I'm going to do with my 3 leaves, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back and pop them in here like so. Just to take that plainness off of that. And that's our card done, except for a little rhinestone which I think we need on here. So, and I'm getting low on these too, so we need to, I'll have to get to order some more of these. What I'm going to do with my rhinestone, I'll lay this down flat so you can see, is right at the end of the Y there, I'm just going to pop in right on the end of the Y, just to give him that Y knot. Oh, it's actually a G, not a Y. What an idiot. Never mind. So that's our card. So let's get on and cracking onto the envelope. Now, our envelope board is here, and on the inside it will give you all your measurements for your envelope. And you look down here and you go, oh god damn, we don't have a 4 by 8. But I have this beautiful app that I found online called Envelope Punchboard Calculator, and you can put in your measurements in either inches or centimetres, and it will tell you what size piece of paper you need. So we need a piece that is 8 inches long by 4 inches wide for our card. Okay, so that's our card size, is 4 by 8, and the spacing is a 1/8 of an inch. You can't go any less than that. Well, you can, but it just makes it way too tight. Then you just press the tick and it will give you the measurements, and it gives you the measurements in both inches and centimetres at the same time. So it's telling me that my piece of card envelope paper needs to be 9 5/8 by 9 5/8, and my first score line has to be at 6 1/4 inches. Now we look at our board and we go, oh no, this only goes to 6 inches. Well, that's easy fix too. What I do is I just get my ruler, and this is a little bit of guesswork. I just get my ruler and I measure up with the 6 inch here, and I usually get a pencil or something, and measure up with the 6 inch on the ruler. Once they're in line with each other, I know that they are then going to be fine. So I know that that's measured up. I've got that round the wrong way. What a wally. 6 inches, and there's my 6 inch mark. Come on. Yep, about there. Alright, so I know that I've got them to do this at 6 1/4 inches, so I can measure that up with there and go, yes, that's 6 1/4 inches. So I can now punch and score. Turn, because we only need one line, so we line up our score line, and we punch and we score again. We turn and we measure, line up our score line again, punch and score, and once more line up the score line with the mark on this side and punch and score, and we have our envelope. Now we're going to just round the corners on these end ones because these are too long. So we just get that out of the way, and I'll bring in my scorer and a cutting thing again. So let's just, I think this paper was got a bit, oh dearie me, that one went straight through, but never mind, we'll persevere and show you anyway. And as you can see, this goes up above the line. So what I found is that I used my cutting board on my bottom one, and I popped this in so that it came to the round about the 1.5 mark, or the 1, 2, 3, the fourth line, which is 4 centimetre mark, and I chopped that bit off for the bottom. On the top side, I went to the just under the 1 inch mark, which is the second score line, which is just about the 2 centimetre mark, and I pulled that piece off as well. Now that doesn't look very straight, so let's try that one again. That was very, very clever, that one, wasn't it? Okay, so then I just stamped my leaves again on the front, and I stamped one in the top and one in the bottom. And once again I coloured those in with my old olive. Like so. Now if you happen to do what I've done there and go through, and you don't happen to have any more card, your piece that you cut off, you can always just plop that over the top. And I'm going to do that for the sake of this one, because, oops, this is just my prototype for a class, so it just looks better when I'm showing it. Fold that up there again. You won't even see that like that there now. So we're going to pop these down here, and we're going to just pop that way round, and we're going to just pop a bit of wet glue along this edge and this edge here, and close up our envelope so that it sits nice and flush. This end will then come down, which we didn't fold down before. What a silly thing. So that one will fold down like so. We will put a small piece of double-sided tape across this edge here for sealing our envelope. Oh, come on. That's not very clever. I dropped that one on the floor. Okay, so that's our envelope, and that's our card. Now, he will lay nice and flat, and he will fit beautifully inside our envelope. How gorgeous is that? And so easy. And that's a really lovely app to have on your phone, so that you can make even more sizes of your envelopes. So there's my very first one, and I didn't put the embossing powder on the top. And here's the second one with the embossing powder on it, and I think the colours look more rich in this one than they do in this one actually. So that's my card for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will be back again next week. Bye for now from Diane. Bye.